Hallie, Jeff, this is a unique challenge for Kentucky as we come to you live from Rupp Arena. The vibes are absolutely great. They have a great chance today to slay a college basketball giant, but the Tigers in Auburn, they have only lost twice this entire season and once in the SEC. Kentucky looking to upset them in a major way. The number one team in the country here warming up, as well as the Wildcats right now, right behind me inside Rupp Arena. If Kentucky's going to pull this thing off today, they're going to do it shorthandedly. And that's how they've kind of done things for the back half of this season, all right? Jackson Robinson, he's out. Lamont Butler, he will play. Auburn's had a clean bill of health for most of this season, and they have one tonight as well. Let's look at the Kentucky end of things here. They've gotten used to playing without one or more major players on this team. They've also gotten used to showing up in big games. UK has 9 quad 1 wins this season, good enough for third in the nation. Right now, they have 5 wins over top 10 teams this season too. All time, UK is 8-16 versus number ones, and the last time the Cats beat one of them was in 2019 when Tennessee came to town. While that may fire you up, we have to talk about these Tigers. Head coach Bruce Pearl has waited 10 years for this moment since he started to build his culture on the Plains. Auburn has been the number one team for weeks, but Pearl will not yield his don't take anything for granted attitude. His team has experience. 10 players are either seniors or older, and they are counting their days left of college. Their fearless leader is former Morehead State baller Johni Broome, who leads the team in points, rebounds, blocks, and assists. For an in-depth look of the Tigers, I enlisted the help of 2 students at Auburn University who are the hosts of the Field of 68 podcast, Straight Out the Jungle. For more on what makes the Tigers tick, here's JoJo Kavanaugh and Vince Wolfram.
First off, I'll just face value ask you guys about this matchup really quickly. What sticks out to you? What do you think are the big talkers from the Auburn end? Because there's a lot of work for this team to do, and they've been a steamroller through the SEC in college basketball for a long time this season.
Yeah, I think off the rip, their last couple games over the last couple weeks have been gutted out performances. Hasn't been the prettiest, cleanest slate for Auburn, but they've found ways to win. So I think they're looking for a game against a banged up Kentucky, a roster that's a little bit depleted, to maybe get back in that comfort zone that they like to play in. And
yeah, I agree with him there. I think both Arkansas and Georgia was not the best night offensively for Auburn. But then when you look at their stats, Auburn shoots better on the road than they do at home. I mean, we talked to Miles Kelly. He calls himself a villain on the road. All of these guys love on the road.
Why do you guys feel like this has culminated to be one of the best seasons of Auburn basketball since anyone could really remember? Bruce has been there for 10 years. He's built his culture. Was it always just a matter of time since he got the job?
I definitely do think it was a matter of time. He's in the running for Naismith College Coach of the Year. But I think it's because we talked to assistant coach Ira Bowman. He said this team genuinely likes each other. And you can feel it when we're at practice, the chemistry that these guys have. You can see in every interview, they're all laughing with one another. It comes down to they genuinely like playing with each other. And then also the seniority of this roster. These guys, almost half the team, if not all of them, it is their last college season. So they are putting their blood, sweat, and tears on the court, and I think that is helping lead to them. It's a combination of seniority and chemistry.
When we think about the number one team in the nation coming into Rupp Arena, a challenge that has not been a part of Mark Pope's season yet at Kentucky, it's one of the biggest games of his time so far here in the Bluegrass. Bruce Pearl has gotten used to being the number one team, but, it's so interesting. He doesn't seem that really phases him a lot. Doesn't seem like he puts too much into that. He's still his blue-collar self. How do you guys feel like this team mirrors Bruce and then mirrors him back at himself?
A lot of coaches think they don't need to teach toughness and teach how to play the game with 100% effort, but Bruce does. I think that's what differentiates him. And every night, there hasn't been a game, and I think you can attest to this too, that Auburn hasn't given 100%. We've never had the game where, they didn't give the effort that they usually do. So I think that's the biggest mirror of Bruce.
This matchup is something that Kentucky has seen before as far as the away swagger of teams coming into Rupp. People have said, Cal's always said, Coach Calipari, the teams that come into Rupp usually have their best shooting night. And so I'm sure that if you guys have seen some great shooting from the Tigers, you might see better, even better coming up when we tip things off on Saturday. What do you think about that? Do you think this team is engineered to do something we've never seen before on the road, even though they are road warriors?
I Definitely think so. I mean, brought this up before, just looking at their games on the road. It's Denai Broom stepping up, but they're all different players starting off, whether it's Nahad Pettiford against Houston and Duke on the road. We saw Miles Kelly go off against Duke on the road. In the Maui Invitational, Dylan Cardwell had a career high 18 points. These guys know how to play on the road. Look at Alabama. Auburn never let Alabama lead that entire game.
I think from Kentucky's side, they take no game slightly. Look at the games Auburn's played against the top 5 in the SEC. Alabama, close game. Florida, close game. Tennessee, close games. All kind of gutted out wins.
Let's talk about defense, because Pearl says, look, we rebound every night. We play defense every night. We're tough on the boards. That's just the identity. Kentucky's offense right now is in a bit of limbo, and which is not ideal for where BBN wants the team to be in the late season stages. How do you feel like this team plays defense, even against teams that are at full strength and teams that are depleted?
We've talked about Janai Broom being the leading scorer, leading in every category. There's 6 guys in double figures on offense, but I still think defense is Auburn's bone. You look at a guy like Denver Jones, the starting point guard. People have talked about, why is Tahad Pettiford not starting? Well, I'll tell you why. It's Denver Jones on defense. He's one of the top 5 on-ball defenders in college basketball. And down the line, you can say that about a lot of guys. And Bruce has talked about all year, if you win the boards, you win the game. Defensive rebounding, I think, will be a big thing with a guy like Amari Williams on Kentucky's side, trying to slow him down, keep him off the glass, because they've had the guards rebound a lot over the last couple games. Miles Kelly, their starting 2 guard, has been in the 7 to 8 rebound area over the last couple games with foul trouble for some of the bigs. So staying out of foul trouble and winning the boards, I think, is how defensively Auburn will try to advantage on Kentucky.
All right, Vince. All right, JoJo. Here's the hardest question you guys have to answer today. What's the number one quality that makes Auburn dangerous?
The amount of guys they have on their roster that can step up on any given night. Georgia State, Chaney Johnson had 18 points. Janai Broom just had 31 points, season high against Georgia at home. You look at Miles Kelly, who had 21 points, 7 threes against Vermont. You look at Tahad Pettiford, who had 21 against Houston, 24 against Georgia. I mean, this is almost entire roster. Denver Jones was just recently SEC Player of the Week. He was National College Player of the Week. He had how many points against Vanderbilt and then coming back against Alabama on the road. I just keep mentioning this entire roster scoring in double figures because it can be anyone's night. And that's what makes them so scary, is that a Janai Broom 20-point performance is normal. But they combine that with another player's roster, someone's night. The depth of this Auburn team is what makes them so dangerous.
And I'll bounce off that. Mark Pope, when he sat down to watch Auburn film, I'm sure he thought, okay, we have to try to slow down Janai Broom. All right, we have to slow down Chad Baker-Mazara. And I wonder how far down the line he had to go, because 6 guys in double figures, you've got seniors, you've got maturity all over the place. There's no holes in Auburn, which I think is their biggest strength. It's their biggest weapon, is that it's hard to find ways to beat them. They kind of have to beat themselves, and that's what they've said all year. If Auburn's going to lose, it's going to be because Auburn beat Auburn.
It was such a treat to have Vince and JoJo come talk with me in depth about Auburn. There was so much we couldn't air because of time, but it was an amazing conversation. Thanks again so much to them. We also want to tell you about a special guest I've just seen inside Rupp Arena. Malachi Moreno, the UK signee from Great Crossing, is in attendance today. We'll let you know if there are any other special guests that I spot as we get closer to tip-off. For now, I'm Forrest Tucker, live inside Rupp Arena. Hallie, Jeff, back to you.
All right, thank you so much, Forrest. We'll